Welcome into the Inner Architecture Academy podcast. Today we want to talk about the ego and bust some myths because ego is not the enemy. Ego is the isolated self. And to be honest, we're going to bring some topics that might confront your current beliefs, but open up for this energy, for this knowledge, because we're going to share some things you have never heard probably before. So welcome to this podcast. Welcome, Marta.
Welcome, Beata. Thank you very much for doing that podcast with me. It was on my request to do the podcast about ego. So thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. This is such a good topic to go with because we all have certain ideas about the ego, but I think this is such a big topic and very useful because if you become aware of the aspect of self, which is ego, it's so much easier to go along with this reality, to create, to co-create, and to become aware of yourself.
Yes. So what I know about ego is that it's trying to protect us. So it's trying to protect the body. So yes, it makes the decisions in order to keep us safe. Is that correct?
That's absolutely, the ego, that's definitely a big part of us, but not the only piece. And I see ego as, we all need ego. And for years, a lot of spirituality, a lot of teachings has taught me to kill my ego, to become egoless, and to just become free of the burden of having ego. But that's completely nonsense because ego is here we cannot function without ego. Ego, that's something that gives us this earthly identity. It's something that you need in order to co-create this reality, to go do groceries, to buy a house, to be Marta, to be Beata. But ego has happened to feel very isolated, and this is part of us that was never meant to run this reality by itself, but to function in distributing the energy, making the decisions with you. So basically, we became scattered, and the ego is being placed in the driver's seat. And the ego will be, it loves you to death. It will be always protecting you from everything which it considers to be dangerous, unfamiliar. So it will always sabotage you. And, usually ego is very hurt, and it will always see this reality from the place of danger. So I think, let's go into the topics of how this all functions in this reality and what it actually means. Because if we just, reject the ego, you cannot become whole when you are rejecting some parts of you. Right?
Yeah.
So I think ego, it's a really beautiful thing, but it's supposed to cooperate with our higher aspects. There is so much more to us as humans. It's not only this reality, and in order to be here, we need to become somebody. It's also part of the process and the joy of being on earth, that you can become someone and do things, but you are also free to change your mind and do different things. The problem becomes really visible when we lose the connection to your soul, to the wholeness, and then from the place of being afraid, we try to hijack this reality by controlling it with the ego.
Yeah.
Right?
So, for me, ego before was that I wanted to be bigger than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me give you examples so I can also understand it, like feel it in my body. Like, let's say with me becoming Krav Maga instructor. At first, I what I decided to become Krav Maga instructor because I wanted to help women actually to help them not get to toxic relationships, to teach them the boundaries, the confidence, to trust themselves. And later on, this whole identity of Krav Maga instructor turned into kind of persona.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm going to be this Krav Maga instructor. I'm going to have a respect that, people are going to look at me and be like, wow. So is this ego?
Yeah. Also, we used to think about ego as arrogance, only arrogance. And, that's if you ask people on the street, so what do you consider to be ego? They say, yeah, that's this arrogance that you are better than everyone else. But, ego is not only the loud person who needs attention. It's got really a lot of faces, and sometimes it is loud, but also it can be the shy person who is not able to put her offering in the public. And maybe if you see someone and she would love to be this beautiful entrepreneur and she's having those brilliant ideas that she want to sell, but she doesn't go and doesn't do this because she's afraid of rejection. That's also the another part of the ego. So maybe you can consider ego also as the hiding place, because it will hijack you in a good way, but also in a very negative way. So every time that you become something in order to save the world, like you say, like, okay, I am so good with this Krav Maga, it's nothing wrong with this. But if you take the identity of a saver, that's absolutely the ego wants to be needed, appreciated, and contribute in a way that you are able to, be significant. The need of being somebody, be valuable for something. It's also part of the ego, this is very thin line we are crossing and bouncing. But can you see, it's not only the arrogance, but also the service, that you are not able to say like, okay, I'm not feeling like work today, but if I don't go, she might not like me. So I rather go than I keep the image of this great Marta or this great Beata. That's also ego.
Yeah, now I can see that there is a very thin line between those two. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really funny because, this is not something that a lot of people are being mindful, and it's maybe not even nice to say, but, ego is nice woman who cannot speak the truth. Ego can be also the spiritual woman behind alignment. And, in this, the most nasty ego I have met is the spirituality itself. Because, if people are arrogant at work, okay, you see like, okay, that he's such an asshole, but okay, he's the businessman, he knows what he wants, and he just goes. It's visible. He's very competitive, he's ego driven, and people, you can see it coming. But there is a very nasty ego form, and that's the spirituality, where people dress up. It's like beautiful dressed ego in significance, in ascending mastery, and all of that shit. But basically, people avoid the responsibility of life because they are hiding. I can see, like, sometimes women who come to me, they are very, very spiritual, and they say like, it doesn't resonate with my energy much. I can feel in my body this big no. And of course, sometimes the body can say no, and you can feel it. But where is the moment that you are hijacking yourself and using the spirituality? Like, okay, this is not in my energy. I can see that this doesn't resonate. I am really on totally different vibe. So I don't go there because, I don't want this low level conversations of whatever. But are you willing to escape and not go there and not have this confrontation with feedback you might receive, and then you're dressing up everything in the spirituality, like you too good to go because they are too negative? Are they? Or are you going to be confronted with some statements you need to digest and maybe consider? So this is a very, very nasty spiritual ego. Like we say, that really doesn't resonate with me. It's I'm not going to go low with my vibration like this, but yeah, it might be very big bullshit.
Yeah, I think my ego is like that a little bit. Not well, I don't know, there is no good or bad, not in a bad way, but sometimes, yeah, the reason I wanted to do this podcast is because I want to understand as well, because like there's need, yeah, that's probably ego as well, the need to do everything right, or it's not even that, but like to get to the bottom of it. Because I can feel, having like this good connection with my body and paying attention to how I feel in certain situation, it really shows me sometimes when I'm going from ego, or I'm going from my, like the true self, the original
It might be,
self.
but
But as you said, like the line is very thin. So let's say, like, with, like you said, with being social with people that vibrate less, so it can be, like for me sometimes I just like to spend time on my own. Like I go to a lot of events, networking, business events, and then I come home and I want to be on my own. And then if I go to, well, I don't really go to that much anymore, because I just like to be on my own after those events. But I know that sometimes it's ego telling me that, what are you going to go there for? Like, you're not going to have anything to talk about to those people.
there you go. So basically, ego is not only the arrogance, but it's actually how I see ego. For me, ego is the fear organized into identity. So every time that there is a fear underneath, that's actually the ego trying to protect you, because there is this scattered identity that is afraid of something. Not to lose it, not to be confronted with, and we've got so many types of ego placed into relationships. Like, on the one hand, we can say that we want love, but we also want control. Right? So there is, like, every time is this duality.
I
And
know.
ego wants, like, intimacy, but not exposure.
Yeah, but the thing is, that there is no right or wrong, because we do need ego. Because if you want to achieve something, you need that part that wants you to be visible, that wants you to be a little bit arrogant, because otherwise you wouldn't do this.
Yes. And that's a part of reasoning mind of yours that is saying this, but there is also this ego part, and it will protect this from not happening. Because, if you want maybe to be chosen somehow, but your ego is afraid of the rejection, you're not going to go into this meeting. You're not going to go for this offering or whatever it is, because, the ego is really organized around fear.
Okay.
So every time that you are thinking like, oh, my body is saying this is big no, just pause for a minute and ask the question, not if that what you are choosing is good for you, but who is choosing at this moment. I think that's really the key question in a lot of situations. Who is feeling this? Who doesn't? If you don't want to feel some emotion, and we've got this moment where you are being confronted with the need of process something, and you need to go through some emotions, and there is a part of you that really doesn't want to go and confront this emotion because it's so uncomfortable, so painful, maybe so shameful, that you don't want to go and feel it, right? But ask yourself the question at this moment, who is the part that doesn't want to go into the feeling? What are you protecting? Who is being protected? Because that's not the whole you. That's the story that you project, and there is identity with this story. There is some ego. So if you ask yourself in every situation you're going through, like, okay, who am I protecting at this moment? Who doesn't want to feel this? Who is benefiting here from not me being able to go somewhere or to feel something? What is this persona? Who is this person in me? And it's a very big key, because if you go there, you can really resolve a lot of issues by staying very neutral, because as long as you do not identify yourself with this part as this absolute of who you are, you can move through a lot of things to let go, to dissociate from the drama and become more whole, because we are not our stories. We are not our scarcities. We are not our needs. We are definitely not our emotions. So every time there is sub-personality protecting some situation. And that's very interesting, because who is this person? What is she afraid of? Right?
Yeah, even this morning, it was somehow liberating, because I went to this meeting and we had very short period, like, we had 30 seconds to talk about what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And normally, well, most of the time, you get this, like, the energy going up to your head. So you kind of like say something in those 30 seconds and you don't even know what I said. But today I didn't prepare, and I wanted to be like very present with myself. So I stood up in those 30 seconds, and I said it, but like, I just wanted to be really present in my body. Like, so I said it slowly. I was grounded. I looked at people, connected. And then I sat down. And of course, before that, like, my heart was pounding, I was afraid. So I was, regulating with my breath. And then I did that and I sat down and I was like, wow. Like, normally afterwards you get still like a bit of like the adrenaline rush, like the heart is still pounding. But today I just sat down and I was calm. And I was like, wow. Like, for the first time, I think I felt it like in my body, that it was safe for me to go speak about myself. And I felt it for the first time, like the safety. So I'm guessing, like, why I'm saying this. It's, before I went to speak, the ego part of me was afraid of being humiliated, of saying something wrong. But then I said it very presently and consciously, and it kind of like dissolved.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful example of being in the now and consciously choosing to stay in the now, because in the now there is no past event projecting on you, or pretending to be somebody else you want to be, because that's the effort, that's the scarcity. Because if you are not something, not feeling, you always pretending. So there is always the fear of exposure, because we all wearing masks to present us in a better way than we are. That's Everyone does this. We just learned how to do it, and it was needed also to survive a lot of times. So right now we have this image of ourselves that we think is great, and the image is just the expectations from the outside you think that people project on you, and you try to keep up with this. And there is a lot of fear that you're going to disappoint people, that you're going to be rejected. But if you just stay in the now and being present in the body, you calm your ego and you are just going aligned. That's the perfect example of what happened when you are just present and being fully you in the moment, without any expectations, projections of need to improve or impress. So basically, that's exactly the beautiful example of your egoless, or you were in the driver's seat and not the scattered ego wrapped around the fear identity. There was no one to protecting you at this moment, because there was no need to do that.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It's probably going to take practice to because it comes and goes, right? So it takes practice to be in that present moment. And yeah, and the awareness is important. Like we are, like I was afraid, we are afraid of constantly, making mistakes, that we will say something wrong, that we will do something wrong. And it applies
Yeah.
to everything. Just regular day-to-day life, I don't know, cooking a dinner. Well, I don't cook for anyone now, but like before, I remember even when I was cooking a dinner, I was like, what if I, put something different than it's in the recipe, and my partner won't like it? So yeah, making those mistakes, like being yourself, just
Yeah.
going with the flow. Like, I don't know, driving. Like I haven't been driving for like 15 years since I passed my driver's license. And like when I moved out of London, I needed to get a car. And then like the memory was still there. I sat in the car and I knew what I needed to do and I was driving. But then the whole time, and what if I did that wrong? What if I did that wrong?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but I got from A to B without any accident. So I guess I did the things right. This is just an example, but like I'm just saying, like we constantly thinking about it. And I know that if I'm thinking about it, other people thinking about it too.
Of course.
So, so it's not only me.
No, it's a
And
big ego-based planet.
yeah,
And and look the dynamic behind of this, because there is so much of the architecture of not wants to be ashamed, not being worthy, but also all of that is blocking your free expression of yourself. So this is what ego does. If your scared ego is sitting in the driver's seat, you are never going to improve yourself, explore yourself, because it's hijacking your decisions. And there are a lot of areas in our life where the ego is really being the dictator, I would even say, especially in a business, because for me, I did figure out that business is the architecture of self-worth. So, it is a very big arena where you are consciously fighting with yourself. If you are afraid of visibility, you need to do things, you're always going to be with push and pull energy in those areas. With visibility, receiving also, the business is also, are you able to receive something? But if your ego says, no, we don't receive things like this because maybe you are not good enough, B, you are maybe creating certain depth, because if you give something and it's not enough, so there are like a lot of dynamics we consciously are not aware of, but this is really spinning in the background of our minds. And entrepreneurship is really mirror for this. So this is such a fascinating phenomena to see all of those things.
yeah, I totally agree. Starting my own business just brought everything up, but it's beautiful because I mean, my aim, like, my purpose here is also, to uncover layers and layers to
Yeah,
find myself um, more and more.
yeah.
So yeah, so business is a great way to do that. If anyone wants to try, who's not in
Yeah,
business yet.
even putting
Um,
out something you are selling, people tend to polish it and make it beautiful, but when is it ready? If you are not ready energetically, your offer will be not ready. Some other person will be making like thousands with your idea already, but you not ready, and you don't feel it in your body as well. It's not the right time to go.
well, the thing is, there is never right time to go, but it's important to teach your body that it's safe to do so.
Yeah,
So so it's not about sitting and feeling. It's about feeling and doing anyway, but
yeah,
in a way that that teaches your body that it's safe to do so.
yeah,
So so I'm seeing like great improvements with my improvements not improvements, because there are not improvements. I see the awareness, of myself. It's incredible how it evolves.
Yeah.
And how, how I can sometimes, catch the little nuances. Sometimes I can't, because sometimes I'm so emotional that I just want to go and like burn the world with my anger. But it's a practice as well.
Yeah.
To manage it, to let it flow, basically, to let it flow, to not let it affect you, but like letting it flow.
Yeah, to learn how to cooperate with your ego, because this is
Cooperate, yeah, that's the
beautiful
good word.
part of us, and we need it to become a person. So this is definitely not something we want to kill, but I think the only way is to learn to navigate with all of the parts of you. You need all of you to become whole. And we are projecting ourselves into this reality for this very reason, to explore this reality as individualized part of the big whole. So why are we trying to reject the ego? Because, I think nobody is talking about this. And look, the culture also, they are always pointing to us, if you are selfish, if you are self-aware person, they always say, like, you're not supposed to think about yourself, it's not okay to want great things for yourself. You need to share with people. So we learn that, choosing yourself, and maybe in a first place being able to want things, to have desires. I think maybe ego is not even the problems, but the desires that are being squeezed, because we are not allowed to culturally or whatever, we have so many dreams that we are not going for because what other people would say. So the ego will always protect us. But if we learn how to cooperate with all of this, with your soul, which is basically, I believe that our identity, this body, is meant to bring all the pieces you are into play. So if you cooperate with your ego, with your soul, it will be amazing, great organic play, because you would be so much more eager to go explore and look beyond the constructions we have built in this life. There is only one way, to learn to become whole and take the ego on the journey, because you needed to manage the energy, to initiate some action, to have desires. It gives you the reason to go for something. But then you can, from the broader perspective, learn the ego that, hey, you are afraid to do this, but if we just go for it, and I'm going to show you that sky is the limit. Let's see what we can do together if we cooperate. And then, your ego loves to play, but it's afraid that something's going to happen to these scattered pieces of yours. So if you take the ego on the journey, and you can learn your nervous system, how to cooperate with this whole system, and you feel safe as as this meeting, your ego will be like, oh, wow, can I do this? And you can say, yes, my dears, you can do it. You can do it. But it's nice play, because then you go for the expansion without this fear, without the need of competition, of pretending something. It's just totally different organic energy you can utilize.
Yeah, I think it's important to add there that ego is there to protect us as well.
Yeah.
Because it's there to protect our body. So without ego, like when we would cross the street, we wouldn't look left and right. We would just walk.
Yeah, of course.
So basically it's there to protect our lives as well.
It is.
So we don't want to kill our ego.
No, we don't want to kill
I heard
our
a lot, when you go through spiritual awakening, your ego dies. That's not true. It's the ego doesn't die. I want to say the identities that you take on.
Yeah, there is a lot of scattered pieces to us,
Yeah.
and
You let go of the identities
and attachments, because this is also very limiting. And who is this part of you that attached in the first place? It's not the whole of you. There is a small piece of you. Every time you have these negative emotions and struggle situations, that's not the totality of you. Who is this person not daring, not protecting? I think that's a really great question, because if you start to ask this question a lot of times, you can learn your ego to become mature. And that's the great thing, because mature ego is really beautiful way of navigating through this life. It will not be your enemy, but your ally to create this beautiful reality. It's not always beautiful though, but you can really learn to see beauty in every experience if you look beyond the fear, because fear is very limiting. You are not seeing a lot of things when we just go single pointed through each situation. We are such a multidimensional beings, and I mean this in earthly way but also cosmic way. Like, we have so many aspects, so many beautiful gifts, but also so many layers of us as people who come to this earth. So co-creation, it's for me a must to open up for those beautiful parts of me. And therefore, there is a lot of work. You need to stay in the now, being able to seeing the constructions you are building, because if you don't see this, you're going to miss a lot of opportunities for not improvement, but to the opportunities to become whole, to stay in the now and not project some things to the future timelines, because we are always choosing. And what happens when your ego comes and say, like, okay, we don't do this, doesn't feel good in a body, we don't go there. You miss the chance to open up a new timeline, because if you will be not afraid, you go someplace and you can see the expansion. Like, you meet beautiful people, they give you this nice feeling like, hey, this is possible, and you don't need to do it alone. We are going too. And you go there and you expand and you learn, like, oh wow. So basically, the movie Truman Show.
Truman Show, yeah.
I think ego is keeping us in the Truman Show very much. It's like, don't go there, you're gonna draw.
I haven't seen this movie for years. But yeah. Okay, so that's about ego. So don't kill it, learn to work with it.
Yeah.
Be aware that you have it. And don't let it run the show.
Yeah, and maybe, just feel it, the message, do not kill the ego. You need it, but train the ego so that it will stop defending your wounded self, and that it will be helping you to serve the truth of who you are. Because beautiful, strong ego will be guaranteeing you the strong boundaries. It will give you the voice. It will give you the discernment, the responsibility. And it will be definitely giving you the body, mind, spirit connection, good choice, staying in the now, and the willingness to play and to go and explore life, because there is so much to explore. And the sky is not the limit, your ego is.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I think this is the great way to end this conversation. Thank you very much, Beata, again for sharing your knowledge with us for this discussion. Yeah, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, maybe only, if you have some questions, please fire them on us. We love to go and explore and touch topics maybe you all want to listen to. So if there is anything that you are curious about and about our vision on those topics, bring it on and have a good day.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening. And we invite you to follow us, to subscribe to our channel if that is of your interest. And we'll see you in the next episode. Have a great day.
Bye.